Welcome to a Steeler Thoughts Chief Feelings film review. I'm Ajay, and this video will review the Chiefs' 37-20 victory over the Baltimore Ravens in Week 4 of the 2025 season. Thanks to all of you who watch us here, who watch or listen to the Steeler Thoughts Chief Feelings podcast, and to those of you who follow along on social media. We're at STCF715 on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. Let's get into the film review. Let's start things off in the first quarter. 9:41 to go in the first quarter. The Ravens opening drive. They have 2nd and 10 at the Chiefs' 11-yard line in a 0-0 game. Lamar Jackson starts under center. He's got ultimately a bunch to his right, tight end to his left. Flowers motions left. He fakes the handoff to Hill, throws a screen pass to him, and Hill walks in fairly unencumbered for a touchdown. So let's see what happened here to start. And the Chiefs here are lined up against a team at 11 personnel. The Ravens have one running back and they have one tight end. And the Chiefs are in their 3-3-5 nickel. So Leo Chenal, Drew Tranquil, Nick Bolton are the three linebackers. Three down linemen are Charles Omenihu. Chris Jones is on the outside. This is actually Omar Norman Lott. And then they have 5 defensive backs. Looks like they've got Connor in the slot, Watson, Cook, Hicks, and McDuffie. So the Chiefs on this play are just playing a fairly basic cover 2. So they drop back, 2 deep safeties, and Leo Chenal is playing that spy role that they talked about a lot in the broadcast, where he was kind of that 4th rusher, but he wasn't really rushing because he was waiting back to see if Jackson would escape. The Ravens, really kind of run out their route combinations and occupy these second-level defenders very well. And they run the screen as kind of like the tackle blocks down, and unfortunately Chris Jones isn't suspicious about this. He sees Hill come in front of him and tries to shed as Hill just turns and is ready for a pass. And then after the tackle kind of blocks down and lets Chris Jones go, he releases out, followed by the center and left guard. So tackle blocks down, releases out, the center and left guard come out as well. Nice convoy there. Underneath defenders are occupied with eyes on the receivers approaching their zones. Really, Tranquil and Chenal are the only guys close that are any of the wiser to the fact that they've got a screen set up, and it just makes for a very quick and easy touchdown. So the combination of the Chiefs dropping off in coverage, the pass rush really aggressively coming in, Chris Jones entirely unblocked but doesn't realize that there may be a reason for that, and then Norman Lott and Omenihu trying to come in, being blocked one-on-one. They managed to get the pass rush up. Chenal's taken care of. Tranquil gets taken care of, and there just aren't enough bodies in the area to prevent the touchdown here. Well-designed play from the Ravens, and they caught the Chiefs in a good look to try it against. You can again see it from the end zone cam. So remember, the end is going to block down and basically release Chris Jones. The tackle is going to, the end, I called him the end. The tackle. The guard is going to take Omar Norman Lott one-on-one, and the tackle on this side is going to take Charles Omenihu one-on-one. Here, the left guard and the center are going to release. So the left guard and center come out along with the left tackle once he blocks down. So here you go. And Chris Jones thinks that maybe Hill is going to be trying to block him. Instead, Hill just spins off and makes himself available for the screen, and then look at the convoy. The tackle is ready for Tranquil. The left guard was already right there for Chenal while Chenal was spying. And the center leads the charge right into the end zone. The Ravens got on the board first to go up 7-0. After getting injured in the first series of Week 1, Xavier Worthy made his return to the field Week 4 against the Ravens, and the offense looked downright explosive. Let's take a look at several plays with Worthy on the field to see if we can better describe the impact he's having on this offense. So we're going to start with 7:58 to go in the first quarter. The Chiefs are down 7-0, and they're facing a 4th down and 2 at the Ravens' 45-yard line. Patrick Mahomes is in the shotgun, and he's in empty. He's got Pacheco to his left. Kelce motions over and comes back over to the right, so he's got 4 on the right. He takes the snap and rolls right. A quick throw to Worthy for a first down, a gain of about 4 yards. So let's take a look at this play. Like we mentioned, Mahomes essentially has 4 on his right. That includes his tight end. And on the left side, he just has Isaiah Pacheco, the running back. So this is 11 personnel, 1 running back, 1 tight end. And then in the slot, he's got Thornton. Outside of him, he's got Xavier Worthy. And then far wide is Juju Smith-Schuster. So what the Chiefs are going to run here, they're going to send Thornton down on a corner pattern. They're going to have Juju Smith-Schuster run a slant, but really it's just a pick route. And Xavier Worthy is going to come up, and it's all a timing pattern here. He's going to time with Juju Smith-Schuster right as Juju's coming across. He's going to stutter and then come out and rub by Smith-Schuster's shoulder to try to create a natural pick, make his defender have to come over the top of it, allow him the space for a quick reception so that he can get the first down. So the Ravens here are just playing cover 1 man, right? They've got 1 deep safety, and then you see we've just got man-to-man coverage here. So really Mahomes' options are, number 1 is what he wants is Worthy, the quick out, to see if he can get that open on the pick play. Then he's probably going to see if Worthy gets covered during the pick, did they leave Juju? And then he's probably going to look for the corner pattern to Thornton as his last resort. So let's look here at how Juju comes in, and it's always Juju, right? Juju Smith-Schuster's doing the little things, getting guys open. So watch how he comes and he settles, and Worthy comes right across it. And what it does is it forces Marlon Humphrey, Worthy's defender, to come right over the top, and that creates enough separation that Worthy's open for a catch and can turn upfield enough to make sure he gets the first down. And it's Juju's attention to detail and then the timing that when he sets up with Worthy. So look at Worthy. He's going to come to try to set up his defender, and then boom, that left foot right there, the sudden step, push out quick. And right at that time, Juju has his position. Juju does a great job of not actually running into the defender, because if you run into the defender as if you're blocking him or impeding his path, not just running a route, that will be a penalty if it's outside of 1 yard from the line of scrimmage. Within a line of the yard, within a yard of the line of scrimmage, you are allowed to block as a receiver. But Juju doesn't risk anything. He just comes and turns around. He's done his job here. Humphrey has to bubble around. It's really kind of Juju's defender that helps set the pick too. And Worthy's there for the speed out, gets his first down. And this is a play, this kind of concept is what the Chiefs used to do with Tyreek Hill all the time. When they had a 4th and short situation, they would just try to sprint out Mahomes and get Hill moving laterally quickly, sometimes with or without a pick, depending on the coverage. You can trust a guy like Juju to come in, but when you have a guy like this was something that, Hollywood Brown wasn't nearly this adept at doing this. This is just easy yardage when you have a guy like Worthy. Makes a catch, gets a first down. So very nice to have a guy like him back. Opens up these kinds of plays, which have really been a staple of the Chiefs' offense since they had Tyreek Hill around. And now they've transitioned over to Worthy. Same play we can see from this side. See Mahomes with the sprint out action. He's just looking straight at Worthy on the out. That quick move by Worthy and the great pick by Juju make this an easy first down for the Chiefs. We pick things up with 1:05 to go in the first quarter. The Chiefs are down 7-3, and they have a 2nd and 8 at their own 18-yard line. Mahomes is in the shotgun with 2 receivers to his left, 2 tight ends to his right, and Kareem Hunt in the backfield with him. He's got Xavier Worthy motioning from the left to the right, and he's got a defender coming with him. Mahomes drops back in the gun, throws it deep down the right side to Xavier Worthy, who makes the catch for a gain of about 37 on a field-flipping play. So let's take a look at what happened. We've got Kareem Hunt as the lone running back, and we've got 2 tight ends, Noah Gray and Travis Kelce, giving us 12 personnel, 1 running back and 2 tight ends. Tyquan Thornton is up on the line of scrimmage, and Xavier Worthy is off. Worthy then motions over, and he gets Marlon Humphrey running with him, which is a pretty good tell for man. At least your pre-snap read would be that this is probably man. In that case, we've got 1 safety showing deep, so this looks like cover 1, where you anticipate you're going to have 1 guy deep, somebody responsible for a lower zone or for blitzing, and then you're going to have man coverage across the board. So the Chiefs route combination here, they're going to have Thornton come and run a deep dig. Noah Gray is going to help with blocking and come out into the flat. Travis Kelce is going to run an out, and Xavier Worthy is going to run a go route. The Ravens do play man coverage, and they play cover 1, but it's a little creative. As you can see at the snap, Roquan Smith is coming in, so it looks like a blitz, but it's actually what we would call a simulated pressure, because the Ravens are still going to rush 4. They're going to drop back this player here. So they still only have 4 in the pass rush. They just have a different 4 than what you would initially think. Additionally, you have one of Kyle Hamilton, or probably 40 here, is responsible for Kareem Hunt. And they kind of see him hang back in protection initially. So 40 also becomes an unburdened defender, just kind of hang out in the zone. So they've got 2 people hanging back because Kareem Hunt doesn't immediately release for a pass pattern. But everybody else has manned up, and you can see teams have been doing this. If you've been following the film review so far this year, teams have been challenging the Chiefs. So we're just going to keep 1 safety back. We're going to come up to the line of scrimmage, and we're going to challenge your guys to beat us. And the one guy that has been able to beat them and make them pay a little bit has been Tyquan Thornton. On this play here, though, what the Chiefs look to be doing is I think they want Thornton's route to be coming into the middle in order to keep the safety's attention, prevent the safety from rolling over to Worthy's side. Thornton actually struggles a little bit with contact and isn't able to get his route into the middle of the field for a minute. He's fighting through contact here as the defender is inside, maintaining inside leverage and making it hard for him to get back in over the middle of the field. However, it doesn't really matter because the safety stays in between the hashes the whole time. He doesn't really lean over to Worthy's side, so Worthy ends up with one-on-one situation. And as you know, he will just run by people in that situation, and that's what he does here. He actually takes some contact from Marlon Humphrey, does a good job of running right through it, and brushing Humphrey off with his left arm and getting down the field. And look at that separation. Good throw from Mahomes. Good ball tracking by Worthy. You can see him. This is the big difference when people want to talk about the Mahomes deep ball over the past couple of years. One of the big things was, look at the trajectory here. Look at the way that Worthy's running. Now look at the adjustment he makes, changing his trajectory to track the ball in the air. This is something that, unfortunately, receivers like Mecole Hardman, it just was not his strength. And so you'd see a lot of balls like this falling complete. That's why I harp on all the time. Deep ball passing is partially or largely a receiver stat too. They have to be able to track the ball because it's hard to throw accurate passes. When Mahomes is standing back at the 8-yard line here, and the ball is going to land at the 49. This ball is going 41 yards in the air. It's hard to hit an exact spot, hit somebody in stride, especially if you don't know exactly how their release is going to be, where they're going to hit contact. So Worthy's ability here, not just to run by a defender when there's no safety over the top, but also to adjust his trajectory, track this ball, and make the catch is a huge boon to this offense. Now we'll see it from the end zone view. Mahomes sends Worthy over in motion, and you can see Humphrey following. There's the blitz from Roquan, and you can see number 90 fall back. And then look at Mahomes' eyes, about how he keeps his eyes down the middle of the field. That's one reason why the safety never left between the hash marks until Mahomes made this throw. Then he turns over and makes his throw. So he does a good job with his eyes. You can see the safety right here in the middle of the field. He does a good job hanging his eyes toward the middle, not selling that he's going over there, and then throwing right at the last minute. And again, you can see the beginning. In the beginning, Worthy still has a little more vertical tilt, and then you can see him track the ball, look at him go out toward the sideline and make that grab. It's a great job by Worthy and a huge dimension that he brings to this offense. So we pick things up with 6:47 to go in the second quarter. The Chiefs are down 7-6, and they're starting a drive with 1st and 10 at their own 44-yard line. Mahomes is under center with Kareem Hunt behind him. He's got 2 to his left and 2 to his right. Sends Noah Gray in motion, fakes a handoff, and gives it to Worthy on an end around. Worthy cuts it upfield and ends up taking a huge chunk of yardage, finally getting out of bounds at the 22-yard line of Baltimore. So let's take a look at this play and see what happened. It was a very nicely designed play. So here we really are in what you would call 12 personnel. There's one running back, that's Kareem Hunt, and the tight ends are Noah Gray and Mike Caliendo, the 6th offensive lineman. So he's come in reported eligible and is a tight end on this play. And then the 2 wide receivers are Juju Smith-Schuster on the left and Xavier Worthy on the right. So the way that this is blocked up is they have Noah Gray coming over to the right, and they're making it look like this is kind of a lead play over to the right. They're pulling Kingsley. And pulling Kingsley, they've got Noah Gray leading, and they're just going to hand this over to Kareem Hunt. So that's how the play is designed to look. And you look at how the Ravens are playing this. First of all, 99 doesn't seem to be at all interested in contain here. He's getting washed over. There isn't really a contained defender here either. As you see, there's a 24 is also eyes over to all the action to the offense's right. So nobody is here looking to contain any possible reverse action back this way. So the eye candy worked very well in this play with the pulling Kingsley coming around here. And then as you get Kingsley pulling, Noah Gray coming in, then from the backside, you get Mike Caliendo, who's the tight end over here. He's going to come and leak through all of this. And the other person that's going to come and leak through is Josh Simmons. So if you notice, Josh Simmons is coming, blocking down, and they're really like allowing this edge defender to be put into conflict. They're trusting Worthy to come around. Although if you see Creed kind of steps back and helps wall him off, but there isn't somebody like immediately coming to attack. So if he had wanted to, he could have come straight down to try to contain. But he's worried about the run action on the other side. The Chiefs are trusting him to get sucked into the action over there, and that's exactly what happened. But as Josh Simmons blocks down here, he's going to leak out, and so is Mike Caliendo. And so if we're going to watch them real quick, Caliendo and Simmons get out to the second level. Trey Smith also does, but he kind of loses his balance and stumbles. And so there's a little bit of a convoy waiting for Worthy as he takes this handoff and comes around the other end. Not impeded at all by a contained defender, so he's got a full head of steam. And then block here by Caliendo. Josh Simmons blocks here, and 2 key blocks out in space. They both did a really good job that allows Worthy to cut this back inside and really, get another, how much? 5, 10, 15, 20. He got almost, close between 20 and 25 yards because of these 2 linemen out here blocking downfield. So really a great job. And just look at the speed. Once Worthy gets this, he is moving. And really, if It was an extremely heads-up play by Roquan Smith, who, honestly has wheels of his own to make sure that his angle didn't get erased by someone as fast as Worthy. He did a good job of maintaining a good angle and forcing Worthy over to the sideline. But Smith had kind of initially come and gotten washed in to the run action, and he IDs the reverse right here and just really gets on his horse and does a great job of getting all the way back. Trey Smith tried to impede him. If Trey Smith makes this block, is able to stop Roquan, Worthy might have gone for a touchdown. As if you eliminate Roquan Smith here from this picture. Now, Nate Wiggins is really fast, and so I'm guessing he takes an angle that will probably make it hard for Worthy to score, but without Roquan, Worthy doesn't have to angle this run nearly as much. He can try to take it a little bit more before Nate Wiggins would force him to angle it, and then it makes you wonder how far he would have gotten. You think at least he could have challenged getting to the 10-yard line, if not scoring, but really, really heads up and great effort play from Roquan Smith, going all the way from being sucked into the run action over here to getting to force Worthy out of bounds before he can cross the 20-yard line. But again, the speed of Worthy, it's just a different dimension to this offense. This threat opens so many things up, and his ability to just navigate, it's just effortless speed. But you really got to credit these two blocks by Caliendo and Simmons getting downfield and making sure that this run can go from a good play to a truly explosive play. And now we get a better appreciation for the kind of the eye candy of the initial run. So you see the line blocking down, and then you've got the pulling action, the counter pull from Noah Gray coming across, and I drew it on Simmons, but it's Kingsley. And look at what it does to the front of the Ravens. Look at everybody getting sucked in. These are your two guys that are one of these guys has to maintain contain. And they both just get sucked inside. At this point, it's too late. They're not going to out-leverage Worthy. Nobody stays at home. 40 gets pulled all the way over. You can see Roquan initially getting pulled in too. Everybody is feeding off this initial run action, a good fake from Mahomes, and then Worthy's off to the races. And again, look at Caliendo getting this space, sealing this off. Look at Josh Simmons. So athletic. And this is Kyle Hamilton that he's going out and blocking. And that's it. This is, just to get on my soapbox, this is one thing that frustrates me a lot about how blocking, and especially for the Chiefs, blocking by Kelce is generally talked about. Look what Simmons does here. That's all you have to do. You don't have to pancake a guy. You don't have to do anything special. You just have to impede him from getting your ball carrier. That is a good block. It doesn't have to, when people do a lot of comparisons about Kelce's blocking, look, it doesn't have to be aesthetically pleasing. It doesn't have to be a dominating block. A good block is a block that prevents your defender from making a play. And that's what Simmons did there. That's a good block. And then, again, much credit to Roquan Smith. And, Nate Wiggins is fast. I don't know that he would have let Worthy score, but he really would have gotten even farther downfield if not for the efforts of Roquan Smith there. But you can see, we've had several examples now about how the speed of Worthy and the kind of quick twitch ability of Worthy has made a huge difference in this offense. So we pick things up with 1:20 to go in the first half. The Chiefs are up 20-7. And they've got first down and 10 at the Baltimore 47-yard line. Mahomes is in the shotgun with Pacheco next to him. He's got 2 to his left, 2 to his right. Takes the snap and throws a quick pass left to Xavier Worthy, who makes him 1 and 2 men miss before going down for a gain of about 9 yards. So, why is this play here? Well, I think the first thing to note is the difference in coverage that we're seeing here. Now, part of that is we're in 2-minute drill time, but part of it is how the Ravens have been kind of challenged in more intermediate and deep areas through this game. And so suddenly we went from, we saw a lot of cover 1 man coverage in the first 3 games, and we saw an example of that already in this game. Suddenly we've got split field safeties off coverage. This actually pre-snap looks kind of like cover 4 or maybe just a very soft cover 2. Ends up really being a cover 4, but that off coverage is something that teams have not been playing as much. The Chiefs got a reputation of seeing that a lot starting in 2021, but starting in 2023, 24, not so much because the Chiefs didn't have people to challenge deep. Well, this is the Worthy effect. You see him starting to make plays down the field, threaten down the field, force teams, or I should say gain explosive plays, then suddenly teams play off, and that opens up a lot more for you. So on this play with the Ravens here, and look at their linebackers dropping back, they've got the 4 deep shell, and then suddenly there's more room underneath. What the Chiefs do is they run Juju on an in-cutting route, Travis Kelce on an in-cutting route, and Hollywood on a deep route. And so what they're doing is they're taking these second-level defenders and forcing them back. And with Worthy, they just have him run like a little in and out, call that a whip route. You just come out, take a step in, and then come back out. And with the soft coverage, it really ends up being like a one-on-one isolation for him as the other zone defenders are all backpedaling. So the threat of the deep pass and Worthy's overall effect on this defense is that suddenly they're having to backpedal and they're opening up areas underneath. So Worthy, open, easy completion. He's able to make a man miss and then another and turn it into 9 yards. And suddenly things just get a lot easier for your offense. When you have guys that aren't beating man coverage and they're able to press tight, keep everybody in, it makes it hard for you to get guys open. But when you have that deep threat, you force defenses back. It allows you to take some of these shallow underneath things that the Chiefs have gotten very good at taking in the last couple years. It just gives you easier options. And you can see it from the end zone view. Look at the snap. Immediately, we've got backpedaling from the second-level defenders. Kelce's challenging deep. And Mahomes gets this out quickly. And then look at Worthy. I mean, look at the athleticism, ability to cut, make guys miss. It's just a new dimension in this offense that they didn't have without him. So we move ahead to 14:02 to go in the third quarter. At this point, the Chiefs are up 20-10. And they've got a 1st and 10 at their own 45-yard line or so. Mahomes is in the shotgun. He's got 2 receivers to the right, 2 to the left, and Pacheco's with him in the backfield. Travis Kelce moves in tight on the left side. Mahomes hands it off to Pacheco, goes up the middle for a gain of 12, keeping the chains moving. So what happened on this play, and what does it have to do with Xavier Worthy? Well, the Chiefs are out here in 11 personnel. 1 running back is Isaiah Pacheco. The 1 tight end is Travis Kelce. Worthy is lined up wide right over here. So the first thing is a continuation from the last clip that we showed, is I want you to look at the safeties and defensive backs in general. We've got another cover 4 shell. So they're really starting to respect the deep pass. This is a first down. So with these 4 back, and then you've got a slot defender here, you really only have 6 run defenders, 6 in the box. It's considered a light box in the NFL and a favorable box to run in. So again, with defenses respecting the speed of the Chiefs more, you're going to get more opportunities underneath and for easy yardage. And in this case, the Chiefs come out in what looks like pass personnel with 3 wide receivers. They come out in shotgun, and they run right at the Ravens. So Kingsley Suamataia pulls, Travis Kelce follows him into the hole, and they run at the light box and get everything blocked up. A couple things to note here. First of all, for all of those who like to critique Kelce's blocking, he's the guy that hits the man in the hole, number 40, at the point of attack, and look at the block. Takes him, pancakes him. Just a devastating block at the point of attack that really sprung this run. the key block in the hole. And then the second thing to note is another major block here, this time from Hollywood Brown, who comes in, gets inside leverage on his defender and makes another block that just Pacheco then can scamper untouched. He really gets about 10 yards before anybody lays a hand on him. Kyle Hamilton looks like the first guy to ever touch him. So beautifully blocked play. Huge props to Kelce for the dominating block right here. Also huge props to Hollywood Brown for this block on the defensive back. But it all starts with the light box created by the respect now that the Ravens have for the chance of the Chiefs beating them deep. Playing a shell coverage, and that prevents them from getting that extra man in the box. Really, like a lot of teams have been playing, when that safety comes down, you can get 8 in the box reliably. In this case, there were only 6. The Chiefs took advantage and got a big run for a first down. So the effects of Xavier Worthy are multifaceted. You not only get the big plays, but what it does to the ways that teams play coverage against you, it opens up your offense. And that's what we were really seeing from the Chiefs here. But let's take another opportunity to enjoy this. So Kingsley's going to come to pull first and seal off the end. Travis Kelce comes behind him, and he's going to hit the linebacker in the hole. So there's Kingsley, and then number 40 comes in to try to fill the hole, and look at Kelce's block right here. There, just takes it right down, and then Hollywood Brown makes the other great block right here. You can see him coming in on this side of your screen. Great block from Hollywood. Big run from Pacheco. These are the kinds of things that are more possible when you've got a guy like Worthy on the field. So we move to the very next play. So same game situation. Chiefs are up 20-10 in the third quarter. They now have a 1st and 10 at about the Ravens' 44-yard line. Mahomes is in shotgun again. He's got 3 to the right. Worthy isolated on the left. He drops back, throws it left to Worthy, who makes the catch at about the 27 and gets all the way down around the 15-yard line for a big first down. So again, the Worthy effect here. Before we even go into what the Chiefs are doing, look at the snap here. Everybody underneath is dropping back. Everybody's dropping back. Look at how much room there is underneath if, Brashard Smith's going to go to the flat. Obviously, one thing to always note when you have zone coverage, Mahomes is looking that way, so the coverage is going to be rotated a little bit. So it's not like Smith would be this wide. If Mahomes turns his head back this way, everyone's going to shift a little bit more back over to the side he's looking. But in any case, got real off coverage. This is, again, a first down, and they're essentially just giving up. If Mahomes wanted like a quick dump off to Juju with the ability to get 5 to 7 yards, that's just there now. They're playing off coverage, and what the Chiefs end up doing, as we saw, so Gray and Juju are running just hitches. Tyquan Thornton is running a post, and Worthy is releasing inside and then trying to run an out. So kind of an out versus like a comeback kind of pattern. So, and that's what you can do when you've been having a lot of success winning down the field. So Mahomes reading to the left side. Worthy actually does a fantastic job here. As he's coming in on the inside and he's going to try to break outside, the corner initially getting kind of turned around by Worthy's move. So Worthy initially stutters outside, then releases inside. So the corner gets spun around here. As he's trying to come and collect himself, Worthy uses that time when the corner's trying to initiate contact to come back outside. And he does a great job. The corner's trying to get his right arm on him, and Worthy just swats the arm, and the corner actually falls right down. That's a great job playing through contact. I know the first thought that some might have is about, is this offensive pass interference? I mean, to me, this is just hand fighting. This isn't like an arm to the chest, extending the arm with, the classic offensive pass interference. This is the defender initiating contact. Worthy is swiping it off with his left arm and does a great job. Defender falls down, but again, this is mainly due to the route that Worthy ran. He chopping his steps, then he comes inside, the corner's not ready for it. Look at, he's completely turned around. And Worthy's timing here is so nuanced. As the corner's trying to overcorrect, come back to him, makes his break outside, wide open. But there's so much fear now of Worthy winning deep that he's able to do this. Just break to the outside. Big catch, and again, explosive play for the Chiefs. From the end zone cam, you see Mahomes starting with looking down the middle. Then he sees Worthy, sees him break out. I mean, this is just easy, wide open, but really good route running from Worthy here to make that one happen. We pick things up with 5:46 to go in the third quarter. The Chiefs are up 27-13 at this point, and they have a third and about 2 at the Baltimore 43-yard line. Mahomes is in the shotgun. He's got 2 to his right, 2 to his left. Kareem Hunt is with him. Xavier Worthy goes on in motion toward the left, and Mahomes hands it off to Kareem Hunt, who gets a gain of about 7 and a first down on 3rd and 2. So what are the Chiefs doing here? Again, they're in 11 personnel this time. Kareem Hunt, the running back. Noah Gray is the tight end. 1 running back, 1 tight end gets you 11. And Mahomes motions Worthy over to the left, and if you look, the entire Ravens second level shifts with it, kind of giving you a zone look, but here this is really an RPO for Patrick Mahomes, right? He can either hand this ball off to Hunt here, or he can keep it and he can just dump the little bubble off to Worthy with 2 blockers in front of him. In this case, Worthy's motion, what it does is it shifts this defender out of the box and moving in this direction. So you really only have 6 box defenders here. So we've got 6 to block, 6 box defenders. We've got a light box. So Mahomes takes the option to hand this off, and the Chiefs just run right at him. Nothing special here. Just block it up. Kingsley get to the second level. But this defender over here, the linebacker, because of his mirroring Worthy's motion, kind of runs himself out of the play. By the time he's able to adjust, Hunt is already well beyond the first down marker. So the gravity of Worthy here and the threat of this bubble does enough to lighten the box, and so you really only have 6 defenders that have an opportunity to get involved in the run game. The Chiefs are able to block them up and get an easy first down on 3rd down. So as you can see, Worthy's gravity is felt in many ways. It's not just about the fact that you get him the ball and he gets downfield, but he makes defenses adjust in a way that no other Chiefs player has to this point this year. Rashee Rice, when he comes back, will create adjustments as well, but Worthy's ability to open up the field for more underneath plays and to just punish teams that don't take account for his speed really opens up the Chiefs' offense in ways that allows them to function. When teams kind of had the clamps on them early in the year, they didn't have any easy buttons, any answers to get out of it. Worthy is the creator of that for this offense right now. Now that he's able to spread things out, the Chiefs have easier answers underneath and in the run game, and that should just help them diversify the offense going forward. Steve Spagnuolo and the Chiefs defense gave the Ravens a lot of problems in Week 4. Let's take a look at several plays that illustrate the ways that the Ravens struggled in their loss against the Chiefs. We're going to start in the first quarter with 5:35 to go. The Ravens have a 1st and 10 at their own 26-yard line. At this point, the Ravens are up 7-3. Lamar Jackson is in shotgun. He's got 3 receivers to his right, 1 to his left. He's got Justice Hill in the backfield. Hill motions left, and Jackson takes the snap, stays in the pocket and tries to escape, and is sacked by Jerry Tillery for a loss of 3 yards. So, what were the Chiefs doing on this one? First of all, to match the Ravens personnel, the Chiefs are in a nickel, but they're in their 3-3-5 nickel. What does that mean? They have 3 down linemen. This is Charles Omenihu, Jerry Tillery, and Ashton Gelati. And they have 3 linebackers, Leo Chenal, Nick Bolton, and Drew Tranquil. Chenal is essentially playing as like a de facto edge. So they are using him. They're getting just a lighter guy on the field to help play against the mobile Lamar Jackson, but still with some pass rushing ability. And more importantly, he holds up against the run really well. He's able to shed offensive linemen as blockers. So their deep safeties on this play, they've got Jaden Hicks and Brian Cook, and they've got Shamari Connor in the slot. Trent McDuffie is over here, and this appears to be Jalen Watson on that side. So the Chiefs aren't doing anything too crazy on this play. This is actually just a fairly standard cover 2 drop. We've got the 2 deep safeties, each with a deep half. And then everybody else is dropping into a zone. They're kind of giving up the underneath. And the Ravens run a pretty good play for cover 2. So basically on the left side, they've got Hopkins running a dig route, and they've got Hill running to the flat underneath. What that does is it makes a defender commit. So Tranquil has to come commit to Hill, which leaves no underneath hook defender under this dig route. Hopkins really pops wide open on the backside here. This was a nice route combination to beat cover 2. On the other side, also pretty good. So they've got what looks like Isaiah Likely running essentially a hitch. And then that looks like Bateman, I think, who's running for the whole shot. You know, one of the big gaps in the cover 2 is between the corner and the safety on the boundary. They've got a receiver going right there. So really hitting the dig route here, good play. This is a little bit of a tighter throw if Watson drops off, but well placed toward the sideline down the field. This is an option here too. It doesn't look like, for whatever reason, Jackson was reading the field on the right side. So it looks like, for whatever reason, this one he would have, or at least should have been able to see. Maybe he didn't like it. Maybe he didn't feel confident that he'd be able to put it to a spot that made sure that if Watson dropped, he wasn't going to get to it. For whatever reason, he chose not to go to it. He did clearly look for Flowers, because Flowers isolated on Nick Bolton is, in general, a great matchup. But Bolton held his own on this one. I think for all the crap that Bolton gets about his coverage, he should get some credit on this one. He really didn't give Jackson a window to get this to Flowers whatsoever. And the other bit that I think was successful for the Chiefs, because like I said, I feel like right now you can throw this one. If you throw it out here toward the sideline, it's hard for, or even you can get a little more depth if you want to. It's hard for Cook to get there. It's hard for Watson to get there, but it does need to be a really good throw. This isn't an easy throw. I don't think you can fault Jackson for throwing this down, or for turning that down. He didn't feel good about that throw. And I think one of the reasons why he never got to the backside dig is that we have to credit Charles Omenihu here for collapsing the pocket. I think Jackson started to feel this pressure from Omenihu. And although if he hangs in there and gets over, I think he's got the ability, he's got the time to make this throw. But this pump fake that he's doing right here looks like it's to Flowers. So he hasn't gotten back to here yet. I think he's read the right side. Maybe, honestly, the more I think about this, the more I look at it, what's probably happened is Jackson's found the matchup he wants, which, fair, and he's giving Flowers a chance to get open, and Flowers just isn't able to beat Bolton. And by the time Jackson is coming off of that, I think the pressure from Omenihu is too much of a stressor, and so he ends up bailing. Now, the thing is that the Chiefs have maintained good rush lane integrity, and we should start it by saying it looks at the beginning of this clip like Bolton has told Gelati to move Tillery. You can see Bolton stepping back from over there, and Gelati's in the process of moving Tillery. So this is an example. You always hear that Nick Bolton, he's the guy that gets everybody lined up. Well, that seems to have been the case on this play. He got them lined up. Everybody kind of stayed in their rush lane, and Tillery did a good job of coming off when he noticed Jackson trying to escape and bringing him down. I mean, this is about as good as it gets from the defensive line. You want to collapse the pocket, but not get out of your rush lane, not give him a place to go. Omenihu did a great job of pushing in. Jackson tried to escape through the B gap, but Tillery was there, had it closed, and the Chiefs get a sack. But I wouldn't say, here you can see it again, the Gelati moving Tillery over a gap and getting back into his gap, and it seems to have been Bolton that initially alerted him to this. But again, look at the rush. We've got everybody staying at home. Nobody's taking a major move laterally. Everybody's staying at home. It's so important when playing Lamar Jackson is you have to limit the lanes that you give him to escape. And Tillery did a good job at once he flashed his helmet on this side, make sure he's not drifting too far toward his left, and he comes back, and right at the time he comes back is when Jackson is trying to escape that way. Great job by the Chiefs defense, but Jackson did, like I said, that dig to Hopkins. You can see Hopkins' foot right there. That was there, but Jackson just doesn't look like he got over there. It looks like he just wanted this to happen, and so that's the other person we really have to credit, Nick Bolton, for not giving Flowers a chance to get free over there and contributing to the sack. So we're going to stay right here and actually just go to the very next play. And the purpose of this to illustrate how difficult it can be to play Spagnuolo's defense. So we saw the sack by Tillery. The Ravens remain up 7-3. They've got second down and 13 now. We're at about 4:51 to go in the first quarter. Jackson's got 2 to his left, 2 to his right, operating out of the shotgun. He motions Zay Flowers into the slot, takes a snap, throws a quick out to Mark Andrews, who gets hit for a 2-yard gain by Jaden Hicks. Now, what have we got here? This time the Chiefs truly have 4 down linemen. So they're playing a nickel, but they're playing a 4-2-5 nickel. 4 down linemen, 2 linebackers, 5 defensive backs. So we've got Charles Omenihu, Chris Jones is back, Jerry Tillery and Ashton Gelati's out here again. We've got Tranquil and Bolton. And then we've got McDuffie with Hicks and Cook staying deep. Connor is still in the slot, and Jalen Watson over here. So if you notice, except for the fact that we've brought in Chris Jones and taken out Leo Chenal. But otherwise, it's a very similar look to last time, right? We've got the 2 deep safeties, and what did the Chiefs do out of this pre-snap look? They dropped split, and then they had everybody else here come back into zone coverage, right? Well, that's not what they do here. Same look pre-snap, second down and long, so not like a crazy down. It wouldn't be surprising to have the Chiefs have split safety and play coverage on second and long. It's a passing down. Instead, Spags goes cover 0. He sends the house. What does cover 0 mean for those uninitiated? Cover 0 just means there's not a deep safety. When you have 1 deep safety in the middle of the field, that's cover 1. Here they've got nobody deep. So everybody's just man-to-man, and there's nobody deep to cover. If anyone gets beat, essentially, it's off to the races, right? In cover 0, if you beat your man, you have a chance to score if you make a catch. So here the Chiefs have no deep safety. Everybody's covered. There are 4 receivers on routes. We just have man-to-man across the board. That means 7 people are rushing the passer here. So you see Connor goes, Tranquil goes, Bolton goes. All of these guys are rushing the passer, and it's just these 4 left on their individual islands. But again, it's from the same alignment, the similar formation. The only difference is we have an extra lineman and 1 fewer linebacker as last time. And instead of playing off coverage, we're bringing the house. Jackson throws hot, so he throws against blitzes, quarterbacks always have like a hot route, a hot read that's supposed to be their quick outlet if they're not able to escape. So Jackson reads it out. He's got his guy hot, Mark Andrews. They have a natural kind of pick, but Hicks is playing off, and Hicks does a fabulous job of, once he sees the hot throw, just driving hard on this and making a nice tackle before Andrews can gain anything after the catch. So the Chiefs blitz heavy, limit the Ravens to just a 2-yard gain, and set up a 3rd and long. And again, everybody's pretty well covered. Jackson took his hot route and immediately stuffed for a 2-yard gain. Things get diabolical with Spags. So you see the linebackers roaming around, and then they just all come. And Jackson gets it out, but look at Hicks doing such a good job. He's already coming downhill here, ready to make the tackle before Andrews can kind of turn, set his feet, and try to make a move. Takes him down, only a gain of 2. So 2 very similar pre-snap alignments, 2 very different coverages, and it leads to a 3rd and 11 for the Ravens. So we continue just later on this drive. 1:50 to go now in the first quarter. The Ravens have moved the ball down at the Chiefs' 32-yard line. They have a 1st and 10. Still up 7-3. We've got Lamar Jackson in the shotgun. He's got 2 to his left, 2 to his right. Takes a snap, drops back, rolls to his right to avoid pressure, and throws down the right sideline to Mark Andrews, and the pass is intercepted by Leo Chenal. All right, so let's take a look at what the Chiefs are doing here. The Chiefs this time are actually just in their base defense. The difference between the base defense and the nickel defense is that the base defense has just 4 defensive backs. The nickel has 5. So now our 4 defensive backs are Trent McDuffie, Brian Cook, Shamari Connor, and Jalen Watson. So Jaden Hicks is off the field. We've got Leo Chenal, Nick Bolton, and Drew Tranquil as the linebackers. And then our defensive lineman, this is hard to see for me from here. Who is on that? Is that Malik Herring? I think that is Malik Herring. Can't tell for sure. This looks like Tillery, Dontari Poe, and George Karlaftis. So here we've got the Chiefs. Again, you'll notice we've got an initial alignment of 2 deep safeties. Looks like split safety coverage. The Chiefs ran that a lot against the Giants, but that's not what they're doing here. They showed 2 deep pre-snap. Connor rotates down to take a man. They're running a blitz. This time it's a cover 1 blitz. So last time there was no deep safety. This time we do have Brian Cook deep, and everybody else is playing man. So the extra rushers here are Tranquil and Bolton are coming out on the blitz. They're sending 6. Chanel's going to take Mark Andrews. McDuffie is manned up on Zay Flowers. Watson is manned up on this receiver here. This looks like likely is there for Shamari Connor. So this time Jackson doesn't have like a quick hot option that he likes. Chenal does a good job of getting hands on Mark Andrews as he's going to the flat. This looks like a chip here from Likely as he goes to the flat on the other side. So the Ravens weren't as ready for the blitz from a hot route perspective. So Jackson is waiting here. His dump off, really, if he really had to get rid of it, would have been Likely here. But it looks like, again, Jackson wanted Flowers to start. He seems to be looking in that direction. But then Bolton comes screaming through. Because the way that the Chiefs did this blitz is they sent Tranquil through the A-gap being the gap between the center and his guard. And as Tranquil goes through, he gets picked up by Derrick Henry, and then Bolton does a slightly delayed blitz through the exact same gap. So watch Tranquil go. He gets picked up, and then here comes Bolton through the same gap. Flowers isn't open yet, and Jackson sees the pressure right here now. He's just running for his life, runs to his right, and he likes this matchup here, which, honestly, one can't really fault him for this. He's got Mark Andrews, and he's got Andrews isolated on Leo Chenal, who's not known for his coverage, and Chanel's back's turned. So when you throw it up there, you have a guy who's a good tight end, good pass catcher, going up against a player whose back's turned. And honestly, more than anything, I would just say that Leo Chenal made an amazing play on this. It's kind of hard for me to fault Lamar Jackson on this play. He made the decision to give his guy a chance against a below average coverage linebacker whose back is turned. And the below average coverage linebacker made a superb play. Look at Chenal turning over his outside shoulder. The ball is coming toward his inside. Andrews is in position. You know, how many times have you seen this happen before? Where you have a linebacker who's facing the sideline, the ball's going to come over his inside shoulder. He turns outside, and the receiver just brings a hand around and makes the catch to the inside. But Chenal manages to turn his body, get his hand out in front of Andrews, and just reel that ball in so they can grab it with his other hand. I mean, that's just an incredible play. The ball skills there were really fantastic. You see here from Jackson's perspective, here comes the blitz. And again, nicely designed. We get Tranquil in the A-gap. Henry has to step up and take that. And then Bolton comes right after. Nobody there. It looks like Jackson is waiting for Flowers to beat McDuffie. And the problem is the blitz gets there too soon. And now he comes off and he sees Andrews and he's like, let me give him a chance here. And Chenal, just the ability to turn his body and get that hand out there and just bring it into his other hand. Incredible. What a great play from Chenal. Nice timely blitz from Spags to get the Ravens off kilter, and then a great individual effort from Chenal to bring in the interception. Now we pick things up with the Ravens up 7-6 in the second quarter, 7:46 to go before halftime. They have a 2nd and 10 at their own 26-yard line. Lamar Jackson is in the shotgun. He's got 2 to his left, 2 to his right. He drops back. Bolton breaks through, and Jackson runs to his right, throws it out of bounds, but doesn't get it to the line of scrimmage. So this ends up being called intentional grounding and a loss of down and 16 yards, resulting in a 3rd and 26. So let's take a look at what the Chiefs defense is doing here. Again, the Chiefs look to be in, let's see, we'll count the defensive backs. It looks like they've got 5, so that's your nickel. But since they've got 3 linebackers, this is our 3-3-5 nickel. So they're only 3 defensive linemen. 1, 2, 3. Looks like Karlaftis, Jones, and I think that's Amenahu over there. And their 3 linebackers are Tranquil, Chenal, and Bolton. And then the 5 defensive backs, McDuffie, Hicks, Chris Roland Wallace is out here, Shamari Connor, and Jalen Watson. So, what's going on this one? The Chiefs have 5 down on the line of scrimmage. And so what the Ravens are ultimately going to do is they're planning for these 5 as potential rushers. With Chris Jones being the dangerous guy, they slide the line toward him. So essentially, they've got a tackle to account here. They've got a guard to account for Amenahu. The center and the right guard are going to double Chris Jones. That way, they've got their right tackle to account for Karlaftis, and the tight end here can account for Tranquil. So they're accounting for these 5. The problem is Spags doesn't rush those 5. He's going to rush these 3. And then he's going to bring Bolton in. And Bolton takes advantage of the slide of the line. So since the guard is sliding over to double team, because like we said, this guy has been there in case Chenal's going to block, and they slide the line over so that these 2 can double. So he's here for Karlaftis. He's going to go double Chris Jones. And so Bolton hits that gap. B gap right there, and honestly just poor pass pro here from Justice Hill. Bolton's coming through like that's your guy right there, and he just whiffs in pass pro, and Bolton comes right through unblocked. I think 70 comes in to try to help. I think that's Roger Rosengard, but because once they realize Tranquil isn't blitzing, the tight end decides to take Karlaftis, so C70 passes him off to the tight end and tries to go himself to help close that gap, but Bolton's already screamed through. The end result, too, is that Karlaftis then sheds the tight end. And so when Jackson rolls to the right to try to get away from Bolton, Karlaftis is right there to apply that complementary pressure that's so important and to force the throwaway. So Spags with the blitz and with his initial alignment managed to confuse the Ravens' protection and get Bolton in. And on the back end, underneath that, he's just playing match coverage, or in this case, it looks like quarters behind the blitz. And, I mean, technically not a blitz. It's a simulated pressure because they bring one and drop one. So, Chanel was on the line of scrimmage and dropped back. Bolton came in. So they're still only rushing 4 and have 7 in coverage. The kind of reason why it looks like quarters is you see Watson taking all of the first receiver from the boundary. Shamar Connor's job is staying over the top of the second one. Interestingly, the actual quarters responsibilities, they rotate it. So normally you're thinking of 1, 2, 3, 4, and this would be an overhang defender. But instead, your 4 for the quarters are 1, 2, 3, 4. Watch the post-snap rotation here. They rotate, so your deep safeties are actually Roland Wallace and Connor, and Jaden Hicks is an underneath defender. Your overhang actually is Leo Chanel, who bailed out. The overhang is the guy that's responsible for first to the flat. So this looks like quarters. He's got all of this. He is going to stay over the top as the deep safety, staying over the top of number 2. And then on this side, you've got Bateman going underneath, which absolves McDuffie from any responsibility, so he bails deep to try to help on anything down the field. Roland Wallace is here trying to close the post in case this turns into a post route. So they play quarters behind. Bateman does come open on the drag. They don't get out there and cover the flat. You can see Leo Chanel getting over there very late. But the blitzer is in Jackson's face, and he bails the other way. And he's got no route that's opening underneath on that side. So he literally has nowhere to go with this ball. He ends up throwing it out of bounds. If he had managed to get it past the line of scrimmage, this wouldn't have been grounding, but he needed to get it at least to the 26-yard line. Instead, he threw it out of bounds underneath and got called for grounding. So another play call from Spags that had the Ravens confused. And we can see their alignment. So again, to reiterate what we were talking about, the Chiefs have 5 down here. So the Ravens are trying to account for the contingency plan of all 5. So he's got to be ready for him. He's got to be ready for him. This is who you want to double, the most dangerous guy. So they're going to slide the line over this way. He's ready for him. He's ready for him. Now the problem for them is he bails. So suddenly you've got it set up so that the line has slid over here, and there are 4. You basically essentially got 4 on 2. And you've got 2 on 2 here, but he bails. So it's really 2 on 1. So 2 on 1 here, 4 on 2 here. Once the guard has committed over here, then Bolton is going to come through. And again, the person who messes up here is the running back. The running back, this should be you in pass pro right there. But he oversteps, and Bolton cuts right by him, straight whiff, and you got a free rusher. It's really unfortunate from the Ravens' protection. They had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 to block 4, and the Chiefs got a free rusher. It's just the way that Spags gets things done. And the Chiefs go into quarters on the back end, and they've got Jackson running for his life, throwing it out of bounds, well short of the first down marker, or of the line of scrimmage, so he gets a grounding penalty. Now we pick things up with the Chiefs up 13-7 with 3:01 to go in the first half, and the Ravens have a 4th and 1 at their own 41-yard line. Lamar Jackson is in the shotgun. He's got 1 to his right, 3 to his left. Takes the snap, immediately has pressure, throws down the right sideline out of bounds, incomplete, and the Chiefs take over on downs. So, what happened on this play? Again, Spags has all kinds of chaos going. He's got his 2 safeties deep, but ultimately he runs another cover 0 blitz. So he's going to end up bringing Connor from the slot. He's going to bring Nick Bolton in the A-gap again. And then everybody else is going to be manned up. So we got man coverage here. Since Connor blitzes, we actually have the 2 safeties coming over to man up over here. So they've got a lot of ground to cover. And then we got man to man. And then Tranquil has the running back. So again, the Chiefs are able to play with the assignments of the pass protection here, and then ultimately not accounted for. This time the Chiefs get 2 free runners. So they get Connor coming off the edge, which is he's not accounted for at all in the pass protection. The Ravens slide, basically they're sending these 3 to the left and these to the right. So you essentially have the tackle who's there for Karlaftis. They actually leave Chris Jones one-on-one here. I'm surprised they slid as they did. And they've got the guard and the center is helping the guard out with Derek Nottie. And then the tackle has Charles Omenihu. They don't appear to account for the chance of Nick Bolton blitzing through the A-gap, which he does, and so the C's part for him. And since the back is not involved in pass protection, there is nobody to help Lamar out here. He's just got Nick Bolton screaming through the A-gap here. Like we said, Connor was not accounted for in the pass protection scheme either, or the pass protection plan either. So he is coming off the edge. Bolton's coming through the A-gap, 2 free runners. And then Karlaftis is one-on-one with the tackle, and he takes a wide rush. And as Jackson drifts away from pressure, he also gets a free run. So Jackson essentially has 3 guys coming, flying in straight at him as he's trying to navigate what's going on behind. Now, it's unfortunate for him. What he wants is this concept on the right. So what they're doing is they're having DeAndre Hopkins run a slant, and they are anticipating man coverage, and the ideal is for Hopkins' slant to pick off Drew Tranquil. They know Tranquil is responsible for the running back. What they want is the slant to come, Tranquil to have to try to navigate through it, and then they've got Justice Hill running the wheel behind it. So hoping to bust a big one down the sideline here. But Tranquil does such a good job of navigating traffic, he's not going to have any issue whatsoever with getting caught up under the slant. So there goes the slant. Tranquil stays capped over the top of the wheel, and Jackson has nothing to do on this side. So this was supposed to stop Tranquil from getting to the sideline, and they're hoping to hit a huge gain here down the sideline, maybe even touchdown from this spot. It is a shame for the Ravens. I mean, to me, it's a wonderful thing, but it's a shame that Jackson didn't look to the left, because he's got a slant wide open right here as the Chiefs are trying to come over to cover ground. But Jackson's progressions were clearly on the right side. He was supposed to look for the slant wheel. He never had time to come back to the other side of the field. The rush was crazy. He ended up throwing it. hope, for him, you would hope you could at least get this ball in bounds and give somebody a chance rather than just throw it away completely, but wasn't able to give Hill a chance at this one. So again, looking at the protection, what the Ravens do is they slide this part of the line left, and then you got one-on-one. Again, on a 4th and 1, I'm not really sure why you decide to keep Chris Jones one-on-one. You would have thought that they would leave Noddy one-on-one, but for whatever reason, that was their decision. And they didn't account for Bolton. Bolton does a good job of disguising his blitz right until the end, right before the snap. They're not ready for him. There's no back there to help out. 77 tries. And look at Chris Jones. When he sees Bolton screaming through, he's worried about the Lamar Jackson scramble, so he already loops around to get ready in case Jackson's trying to escape here to get anything with his legs. But Karlaftis did a great job of coming. This is the second time that Bolton has caused Jackson to drift off his spot, and Karlaftis had a good enough rush to make sure he could be the complimentary rusher so that Jackson had nowhere to go. You saw Connor coming off the edge here too, but you can see Jackson's looking right the whole time. That's the initial progression. So you never saw that slant come open on the left side and never had the opportunity to try to convert it in that direction. Again, Spags is able to confuse the Ravens' protection and get a big stop. We'll pick things up with 1:27 to go in the first half. The Ravens have a 3rd and 1 at the Chiefs' about 44-yard line. Or sorry, their own about 44-yard line. At this point, the Chiefs are up 20-7. Lamar has 3 to his right, 1 to his left. He's in the shotgun. Hill motions to the right. He steps up, fumbles the football, and it's recovered by Kansas City for a big turnover. So let's take a look at what the Chiefs were doing here. This time the Chiefs come out in their nickel, but they've switched things up a little bit personnel-wise. So typically they had been running the nickel with 3 safeties, Shamari Connor, Brian Cook, and Jaden Hicks. This time, Jaden Hicks is out, and they bring in Noel Williams to play outside corner. So what that allows them to do then, they have Jalen Watson and Noel Williams outside, and Trent McDuffie can kick into the slot. The deep safeties here are Brian Cook and Shamari Connor. The linebackers are Drew Tranquil and Nick Bolton. And we've got that 3-3-5 again. We also have Leo Chanel, the 3rd linebacker here. So only 3 down defensive linemen. That's George Karlaftis, Chris Jones, and Charles Omenihu. So here, that's a huge advantage the Chiefs can play. This is a 3rd and 1. You're really worried about the run, but they can get that extra linebacker on the field. They don't feel the need to have 4 defensive linemen, which can be very helpful for them in these situations. So what they end up running here is they end up kind of dropping back into coverage and really just rushing 4. So as we've seen, they've shown a lot of different looks, but pre-snap they're showing a lot of 2 high safety, and that's the case here. So you can see how confusing it has been to navigate. We've seen 2 high safety mean 2 high safeties. We've seen 2 high safeties mean cover 0. We've seen 2 high safeties mean a cover 1 blitz. And in this situation, we see 2 high safeties leads to, again, 1 deep, but this time no blitz. We just have 4 rushing. And this was an example of, they talked about this on the broadcast a lot. This was really not a 4 rushing. We've got 3 rushing and Leo Chanel essentially playing a spy. So if you see Chanel, he's just waiting back and waiting to see if Lamar is going to run and being ready to respond to that. But the actual coverage that the Chiefs run, it's a kind of man-match combination. It's not straight quarters, although there are a lot of principles here, especially on the Chiefs' right side that are like quarters. You see when we've got the underneath drag route, Noel Williams bails. When Mark Andrews heads to the flat, Trent McDuffie goes to take that. On this side, though, we don't have a deep safety on the right side here. Here it's just a little bit, Jalen Watson is covering the number 1 wide receiver, but as Andrews comes through, he's just passed along underneath, and then Brian Cook is the one that stays up on top of the number 2 from that side. So the Chiefs playing a man match concept. The Ravens are running 2 underneath drag routes. Then they've got the post, and then they've got behind that the dig route from Bateman. So got Flowers running the post, and it looks like that might have been the one that the Chiefs that Jackson wanted. It looks like he's looking down here because he's got Hopkins here. He's not really interested in that one underneath. There is the worry Hopkins is going to run right into. Sorry, that's not Hopkins. That's 16. Run into Tranquil's zone, but ideally for him, if he sits here and tries to make a catch, we're just talking 3rd and 1 at this point. But Jackson drops back and doesn't like what he sees. I got to give credit to Bolton doing a good job of getting underneath this over route from Zay Flowers, and then Noel Williams, since his man had gone underneath, he's going to drop back as well. But Bolton did a good job of taking that one away. And the Chiefs just kind of collapsed. Chris Jones here did a good job of getting pressure. He actually gets held on this play. The Chiefs ended up declining it. But as he wins quickly, he gets held. And then Chanel does a good job as a spy of being a deterrent. He gets to this side. Jackson tries to come back behind his center, and he runs into his center, which is what forces the fumble. And Drew Tranquil is able to climb on it. So again, a different coverage look out of the same pre-snap situation. This time, only really rushing 3, but Chris Jones' early win and drawing the holding penalty, which, like we said, was declined, but still, his early win broke up this play very quickly and didn't give Lamar a chance to kind of read through his progressions. And, he would have had Bateman down the field here. This would have been a possibility if 16 sat, but it was really Chris Jones' quick win that got things going for the Chiefs, got Lamar off his spot and trying to run. And then Leo Chanel's good work as a spy here, being ready for the two-way go when Lamar came this way. Chanel mirrored, and then Lamar tried to sneak by his center and couldn't get past him, ultimately fumbling and giving the Chiefs another possession. Now, from this standpoint, you can see Chris Jones' rush because, like we said, that's what really prevented Lamar from getting anything done. He's just so strong with his hands about using a push-pull here. And then right there is where the hold gets called as the guard goes around his hips. You can see the ref throwing his flag. Lamar bails, and then Chanel is the one here who manages to stay within himself, make sure not to let Lamar go. The biggest mistake that a lot of defenders make, the hardest thing about defending Lamar, is that he'll get you to commit, and then he's so agile he'll go back the other way. So Chanel does a good job of not over and committing. Lamar runs into his man, fumbles the ball. Tranquil is there to collect it for a big turnover for the Chiefs. We'll pick things up with the Ravens down 27-10. They have a 3rd and 3 at the Chiefs' 12-yard line with about 8:10 to go in the third quarter. Lamar Jackson is in the shotgun. He's got 3 to his right, 1 to his left. Justice Hill in the backfield with him. Takes the snap, drops back. As the pocket collapses, he tries to escape, and he's sacked for a loss of about 2 yards. So let's see what Spags had cooked up here. So again, the Chiefs are showing pre-snap 2 deep safeties. They are lined up again in the nickel. They are 3-3-5 nickel. Here's Leo Chanel. So they've got 3 linebackers, 3 down linemen. And again, in the nickel, they've got Trent McDuffie in the slot because they've brought Noel Williams on, and they don't have Jaden Hicks on the field for this. So out of that kind of 2 high safety look, they're really just running cover 1 man. This is a pretty simple, you've got 1 deep safety, And then Nick Bolton is your robber, the zone guy underneath. Tranquil is manned up on the running back. And you got man-to-man here. Then you see the man-to-man, man-to-man, man-to-man. So if you see the Ravens route combination, they're going to get Bateman coming over at the goal line. You've got Andrews coming out. And then Zay Flowers is going to run a whip route or a return route on the side. And the Chiefs end up covering it all pretty well. If you see Bateman's route's going to take him right into the safety in the middle of the field. Noel Williams has this fade on the backside covered completely. As Zay Flowers comes to cut in, Nick Bolton, the underneath defender, is there walling him off. He decides to return out, but he's got his man ready there to cover here. And then Cook does a good job over the top of Mark Andrews. So again, we've got that 4-man rush, no exotic blitz, and really it's a 3-man rush because Leo Chanel is doing his thing and playing the spy. So he's acting like he's coming rushing and he's just waiting to see what Jackson does. Again, a good job. Amenahue, we got to mention his name, and George Karlaftis do a great job collapsing the pocket here. I mean, this very much looks like what the Eagles were doing to the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. I mean, the tackle is just getting walked back right to the quarterback. Lamar feels the pressure and bails. Amenahue does a great job of detaching here. Over on Karlaftis' side, we get a pretty humorous moment as the guard tries to do what I call a Trey Smith, when you peel back and just take out the defensive end that's playing against your tackle, except he whiffs entirely and just goes straight down to the ground. Poor guy. That's embarrassing. And Amenahue gives good chase. Karlaftis does a great job of peeling back from behind. And ultimately they get the sack. Again, you see it from the end zone cam. Nothing special. The Chiefs just rushing 4. And if you watched any of the film review of the Super Bowl, I know it wasn't a painful watch. It wasn't a fun watch for Chiefs fan, but this will look so familiar. This is what the Eagles were doing to the Chiefs. Just bull rush both the tackles right back into the quarterback's lap once he feels the pressure. And, Lamar had nothing, so part of this was just he had to create something. Chanel did a good job of deterring the escape over here, as did Amenahue peeling back. Here is the funny moment I was telling you about. 77's like, I'm going to take a piece out of this end. And he completely misses, just whiffs and ends up right on the ground. But Karlaftis peels back really well, and as Jackson's trying to escape laterally, Karlaftis goes and gets him, takes him down for the sack. So Spagnuolo really had some good concepts and did a good job confusing the Ravens, especially their protections on some of the blitzes, and had things blanketed at other times with 4-man rush. And the Ravens just couldn't get any offense going. I think, people will recall that Lamar Jackson went out with an injury, and I think it was actually after this play that we just showed. But ultimately, at this point, it was 27-13. The Chiefs were rolling. I'm not sure that, putting any blame on Lamar's injury makes sense. The defensive injuries to the Ravens certainly played a part in how many points the Chiefs were able to score, but we'll see. The offense looked pretty good as well. So ultimately, the Chiefs defense really did a number in a way that teams haven't been able to do against the Ravens this year. And it was quite an important and impressive performance from Spags and Co. Let's pick things up with 4 minutes to go in the first half. The Chiefs are down 7-6, and they have a 2nd and goal at the Ravens' 4-yard line. Mahomes is in the shotgun. He's got 3 to his left in a bunch. Travis Kelce to his right. Motions Hollywood Brown left to right, and then brings him back over to the left. Takes the snap and fires one into Juju Smith-Schuster for a touchdown, giving the Chiefs their first lead of the game, ultimately 13-7. So, what have we got going here? We've got the Chiefs in 11 personnel. They're 1 running back, Kareem Hunt. The tight end is Travis Kelce. And they're going to have Kelce stay in to chip and then release late. And they've got a combination release out of the bunch. They got Worthy running his out. They've got Hollywood more shallow, and then Juju Smith-Schuster is going to come curl right in the middle of the zone. And the Ravens are essentially just playing cover 2, right? They've got their 2 safeties back, and everybody's just sitting at the goal line in zone coverage. So the thing you really like about this is ultimately, if you're going to throw touchdowns against zone coverage in the red zone, you're going to have to fire them in tight windows. And those of you that checked out the film reviews from last week, I did a segment in my Chiefs-Giants film review about how Mahomes is really pushing the ball into tight windows and pushing the ball downfield. Here's a great example. Look at, as Juju's turning, Mahomes decides he's going to try to rip it in there, and he does. I mean, that's a tight window. He fires it in there for the touchdown. You love seeing that level of confidence from Mahomes. And I think it also really just shows that he trusts Juju. He trusts him to go to the right spot, and he trusts him to make the catch when the ball's really rocketed in there. Because if you look at it, like, he's deciding to throw right about here. So you've got to trust that Juju's going to come, stop, and turn right at the spot you're looking for. And Juju makes himself available, ball's right on him, touchdown. And you can really see it from the end zone view here. You can see how incredibly tight this window was. See Mahomes, right as he's turning, he plants that foot and gets it to him. And look at that window. He had to fire that ball in there, knowing Juju was going to take a hit, feel like he was going to hang on to it, and there's your touchdown. You love to see that from the Chiefs offense. If Mahomes is confident like that, he feels like his guys are going to be where he expects them to be, he can throw the ball in there like that, makes for easy scores. We jump ahead to 2:52 to go in the first half. The Chiefs are up 13-7, and they've got a 2nd and 10 at the Ravens' 40-yard line. Mahomes is in the shotgun. He's got 2 to his left, 3 to his right. He's in empty. Take the snap. There's a free rusher, and he drifts back, throws it to Kelce, who makes an over-the-shoulder catch for about a 15-yard gain. All right, so what happened on this play? We've got the Chiefs. They're actually in like a true empty, which is nice to see. Mahomes getting that opportunity a little more to operate like that. He's got Pacheco as his running back and Kelce as his tight end, so this is technically 11 personnel. Jalen Royals makes an appearance. He's here in the slot, and this is Juju Smith-Schuster and Xavier Worthy up top. So essentially what the Chiefs are doing here, actually that might be a Hollywood Brown up top. It's hard to see on the all 22. The Chiefs are running in cutters over here. Kelce's running a crosser. Jalen Royals is going to run out, and Isaiah Pacheco is just going to sit here and be available against off coverage. The Ravens are running a cover 0 blitz. So they're going to blitz off the edge here and then replace the man-to-man. They're going to blitz here as well, and so everybody is just in man coverage. So we got cover 0, and the blitzer off the edge is free. Mahomes IDs the blitz here. Well, I guess he's not technically off the edge. He's coming through the B gap here. But the blitzer comes free through the B gap. They're bringing more than the Chiefs can block. And Mahomes drifts, and due to his pressure, he's not going to be able to like fire this ball in right here. So since he's coming on his back foot, what he does instead is he lofts the ball. Instead of following Kelce's trajectory, he lofts it so that he'll be able to make a more accurate throw. If he tries to just fire this ball in right here, he's not going to be able to step in to do that. So instead he lofts it, and Kelce does an awesome job adjusting his route to the trajectory of the ball. It also leads Kelce downfield. There's no deep safety. So if Kelce's able to break this tackle, there's a good chance that he can threaten to score, which is why when he gets shoestring tackled here, you can see him come up and put his hands on his head. Kelce's not who he once was, so I'm guessing this guy would have gotten him. But in any case, at this moment right here, Kelce was thinking for a split second that he was home free. And then he gets tripped up here. But this is just so... These are the things that are just the cool parts of the Mahomes-Kelce connection here. The fact that he knows drifting back, he's going to change the trajectory. He's going to loft this ball. He's going to allow Kelce to run under it. And how Kelce knows exactly what he's doing, runs under it, and nearly breaks this one down the field. So let's see it again. Again, the Ravens going cover 0. They're going to bring more than the Chiefs can handle. You see you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They get the 6th guy. The Chiefs are an empty, so they don't have anyone to pick up the free rusher. Hamilton comes screaming through, and Mahomes knows, again, he can't just like get up and drive this ball. So instead he drops back and just lofts it, and look at Kelce adjusting his angle to go get it. I mean, that is perfect. Right in stride. The two guys are just on the same page, and Roquan Smith did such a great job of getting Kelce's ankle, because Kelce's like, oh, I could have taken that. Pick up the action with 1:55 to go in the second quarter. The Chiefs are up 13-7, and they have a 3rd and 6 at the Ravens' 21-yard line. Mahomes is in the shotgun. He's got 3 to his left, Hollywood Brown to his right. He motions Juju Smith-Schuster and then sends him back. Takes the snap, rolls to his right, and dumps it off to Kareem Hunt, who gets up the field for a first down inside the 10-yard line. Okay, so what happened on this one? So as we see, we've got the Chiefs lined up in 12 personnel. We've got Kareem Hunt is the running back. Noah Gray and Travis Kelce are the tight ends. 1 running back and 2 tight ends is 12 personnel. Juju Smith-Schuster is the 3rd receiver on the left. He's the wide receiver over there. And Hollywood Brown is isolated on the right side. So the Ravens kind of show their hand here as a cover 0. You know, they have everybody lined up. Pre-snap, this looks like cover 0. They've got guys over the top. Of course, they could bail into something else, but that is what you're really thinking to start. Mahomes takes the snap here, and indeed it is cover 0. There's just one jam from Kyle Hamilton on Noah Gray before he rushes. But everybody's manned up, and what they end up doing, they've got Juju running a whip route right here. Travis Kelce is running a dig. Noah Gray is running to the corner, and Hollywood Brown is running a fade. So Mahomes takes the snap, and the Chiefs actually, the line picks this up beautifully. They've got everybody here, and Kareem Hunt comes to help, and this guy, the linebacker, ends up just taking Kareem Hunt, riding him out into his route. Hamilton's blitz is so late that he's not able to be a factor. So it's, oddly enough, there's a cover 0 blitz, and the Chiefs pick it up so well that Mahomes has time to kind of scramble around and look around. He makes the decision, it looks like right about here, that he's like, okay, we vacated this area. I'm just going to run for this. If Hunt's able to block this guy, I can just scramble for the first down. Which is too bad because Kelce comes open on the crosser. So if Mahomes had stayed at home and wanted to throw this, he could have thrown it to Kelce. But I think by this point, Mahomes sees this side and the amount of open field, and he's like, we're just going to go for this. So he scrambles over here, and then he and Hunt are on the same page as Hunt's defender notices Mahomes coming and ends up committing to Mahomes' run. Hunt does a great job spinning off and making himself available. And right as Mahomes sees the defender leave Hunt, he just flips it over to Hunt, who easily gets the first down. The other thing that is unfortunate, like we said, if Mahomes he's just committed here that he's going to run, so he's not looking. He could have hit this, but even more fun is that Noah Gray is running his corner route, and as he sees Mahomes start to scramble, Noah Gray gets into scramble drill mode and actually peels this back. And again, Mahomes has committed to the run at this point, but if he had kept his eyes downfield and been interested in trying to make a throw, it would have been nice to toss one right here and get a touchdown. That would have been really cool. But in any case, nice play from the Chiefs. Interesting play. You don't often see that much of an ad lib possible on a cover zero blitz. Here we see it here. The Ravens aren't really doing much by way of disguising. And one of the reasons that Mahomes is able to get his time is that Kyle Hamilton jams initially on this route, and that gives him enough time. Hamilton's not able to get in on the rush. And then look at the coordination here between Mahomes and Hunt. They're just on the same page. Hunt peels back as 40 comes off, and Mahomes gets it to him. First down, Kansas City. We pick things up with 1:45 to go in the second quarter. At this point, the Chiefs are up 13-7, and they have first and goal at the Ravens' 8-yard line. Mahomes starts under center. He's got 3 to his left, 1 to his right. He sends Juju in motion in, fakes a handoff to Isaiah Pacheco, dumps it off to him, and Pacheco takes it the rest of the way for the touchdown. So let's break down this play and look at what happened here. So the Chiefs are coming in a little heavier. They're coming in 12 personnel. They've got one running back, Isaiah Pacheco, and then they've got Noah Gray and Travis Kelce lined up next to each other as the 2 tight ends. So one running back and 2 tight ends is 12 personnel. I think I misidentified. That's Kelce on the left, and Noah Gray is actually the one on the inside. The 2 wide receivers are Juju Smith-Schuster down on the left of your screen, and Xavier Worthy on the right of the formation. So this style of play is something that you see a lot. Actually, I think Greg Olsen mentioned it on the broadcast of the Steelers-Vikings game this week at the Dublin-Ireland game, that whenever you have a front side fake handoff to the running back, and as you can see here from Mahomes, it's not even that great of a fake handoff, right? Like he just turns toward, he doesn't really sell the play action that much at all. But whenever you have that handoff on the front side and then throw back to the running back, it always seems like that back is never covered in that situation. And one way that the Chiefs get that done here is if you look at the way that they're blocking here, this is like a run blocking setup. They're blocking for a run to the right. And this gives you an idea. You can see how much the defenders are reading their keys and reading their blockers rather than reading the quarterback or following the ball with their eyes. Because look at how the defenders, especially on the second level of the Ravens, respond to this. They're all flowing this direction. Mahomes has the ball and is already moving to his left, meaning the Ravens' defense is right, and the Ravens' defenders are still moving to their left because they're keying so hard. You see 1, 2, 3, 4, all keying on the motion of the offensive line. This is where they're looking to their keys. And since the line is all moving in this direction, everybody, including the contained defender right here, look how long it takes 38 to realize what's going on. At this point, Mahomes is right in front of him, and Pacheco is about to run right by him. And look at he's still looking over. Look at this. He's still looking over at the offensive line. The Mahomes is about to throw this ball to Pacheco right to his right, and he's looking over at the offensive line like, what's going on over there? So this action by the line, you really have 7 guys because the 2 tight ends, everybody moving in this direction, blocking in this direction, completely freezes the second level and neutralizes anybody that would have been taking Isaiah Pacheco in this pass pattern. And so it just makes for easy pitch and catch here. Mahomes to Pacheco. And at this point, once the Ravens have realized what's going on, nobody has an angle to cut off Pacheco to the end zone. Now, I talk a lot about Juju Smith-Schuster and how he's always a guy that does the little things that help you win. And this is a very interesting and, to those who are not Chiefs fans, infuriating example of Juju doing just that. I want you to watch him on this play. So he's coming out and kind of boxing out his defender. And he trips here. And then after he trips, he lunges and essentially like takes out two defenders right here. Now, this is most certainly a penalty, right? It's a low block outside the numbers, which is a penalty in its own right. And it's a block back toward the line of scrimmage, which is also a penalty. I think the reason why Juju gets away with this is because he tripped. And he's like selling this as he's not blocked. He's like his thing. He's not blocking. He's just falling. So he's falling and look, oh no, I'm falling right in the path of these two defenders. I'll get in their way and trip them up on the way to the end zone. I mean, I can see how this is like a little equivocal if you're watching it in real time. We can watch it at real speed here. But if you see, like, just watch Juju here, he trips, oh, he falls. And so to an official watching this, like, I guess there's enough doubt there that it's like, well, but it clearly seems like Juju conveniently, quote unquote, fell right into the two guys. Now, Pacheco's going to score anyway. Like, it doesn't look like, you can see number 3 is already giving up on the play when Juju falls into him. So it didn't actually affect the outcome of the play, but it just shows the extra effort and willingness to kind of play on the boundary of the rules. And honestly, Viper is pretty smart, right? Like, he's falling, so he's like, I might as well fall right in the path of these two people. But had he not been falling, I'm sure a flag would be thrown here. Like, you can't block this way, right? You can't block low outside the numbers, and you can't block back toward the line of scrimmage. But, and you can see number 3 right here being like, what the heck? Like, how is that allowed? But I think that the reason why, like I said, is that he's falling. And I think he just, since he already was falling, he took advantage of the fact that and made sure he fell right in the path of the two defenders that honestly couldn't have made a play anyway. But they certainly were the closest defenders in that situation. So let's take a look from the end zone view. We can really appreciate what we were talking about earlier about the line kind of selling this as a run action to the offense's right, and just see how the defense reacts from this viewpoint. Here comes Mahomes. Again, not that much of a run fake. And like Mahomes, at this point, Mahomes and Pacheco are no longer trying to make it seem like Pacheco doesn't, it's not like he even takes like a fake step in this direction, right? From the snap, Pacheco's just going. He's going left. He's not selling anything to the right whatsoever. But it doesn't matter because all the defenders are watching the offensive line. And look at how long it takes for them to stop. Like right here, 40 is pivoting right now. And 38, as we noted earlier, he's just completely confused. His eyes are all over the place. He doesn't know where he's looking. 40's at least trying to make his way over. This guy has no clue. And by the time, contain has completely been lost. By the time 40's trying to get over there, it's way too late. Pacheco's going to score. And then you see Juju having tripped here. He's just going to conveniently complete his fall right into the path of the defenders. And the Chiefs scored a touchdown here to go up 20-7. We jump ahead to 11:55 to go in the third quarter. At this point, the Chiefs are up 20-10, and they have a 2nd and 6 at the Ravens' 11-yard line. Mahomes starts an empty in the shotgun. He's got 3 to his right, 2 to his left, and then motions Brashard Smith into the backfield, leaving Kelce isolated on the left side. Mahomes takes the snap out of the shotgun. After a quick drop, he throws it down the middle of the field to Tyquan Thornton, right in between the safeties for a touchdown, bringing the Chiefs' lead up to 27-10. So, what's happening on this play? The Chiefs are starting an empty. They do this a lot and motion the running back into the backfield, but I like the fact that a couple times this game they actually ran plays from empty, which I just think gives Mahomes a lot more options. And also, when you have a guy like Brashard Smith, who is a converted wide receiver, he really only started playing running back. This is his second season. His last year in college was his first year playing running back. So he's very experienced as a route runner for a typical running back. So using him in empty is a pretty nice cheat code. But they line up in empty. They're in 11 personnel, meaning they have 3 wide receivers that are all over here. Xavier Worthy, Juju Smith-Schuster, and Tyquan Thornton. Mahomes motions Brashard Smith into the backfield. Nobody's running with him. So one big tell is when you're out in empty with the running back out here and you have a corner on you instead of like a linebacker or really a linebacker or in some cases a safety depending on the coverage. When you have a corner on you, you're thinking this is probably a zone coverage, right? Because in man coverage, a corner is usually not going to be assigned to a running back. So the fact that a corner's out there with him, and then when you motion back, there isn't really that much of a formational adjustment by the defense when Brashard Smith comes back in. So you're pretty confident you've got a zone coverage here. You see that they're showing pre-snap that they've got 2 deep safeties. So it looks like it's split field coverage, which means it's, some variation of cover 2 or cover 4, or we don't have to go into the more complicated. But you're looking at each safety responsible for a half. You're not, essentially what it really means is the middle of the field is probably open. If they stay with a split field coverage, regardless of what it is, the middle of the field will probably be open. That's why a lot of people you'll hear, they differentiate not so much between like different names of coverages, but they categorize middle field open coverages and middle field closed coverages. When you have middle field closed, you essentially have 1 deep safety in the middle of the field. When you have middle field open, you have split safeties. These are better for preventing deep shots, but the split middle field open, by like the name suggests, leaves the middle of the field open. So if you can exploit that with somebody, you can hit that as a weakness. And so when you see after the snap, it truly is just a cover 2, right? This is a fairly standard cover 2 defense. So you have 2 deep safeties. Everybody is zone dropping. They're not really covering the flats, so this is a little more of a softer cover 2. They're not like charging down on the flat. You can see that with like Brashard Smith right here. When Kelce pushes back, the outside defender kind of pushes back with him, so they're giving up the flat rather than the potential, what they call the hole shot in the cover 2 between the safety and the corner. So the Chiefs have a route combination set up where Travis Kelce is running toward the corner. Brashard Smith is coming out into the flat. So that really, the goal is to put this defender in the cover 2 in conflict. Juju Smith-Schuster is running a drag across the middle. Xavier Worthy is waiting and then running a delayed slant or kind of drag across the middle as well. And Tyquan Thornton is exploiting the other weakness in the cover 2, that middle field that we talked about. So we've got a guy going for the corner weakness over here. We've got a guy going for the middle of the field weakness over here. And then the combination of these routes is important because it puts this safety in conflict. When Travis Kelce goes toward the corner, the safety has to widen. And when the safety has to widen, it makes that middle of the field even more open. So really what it comes down to from Tyquan Thornton's perspective is he has got to do enough to make sure that this safety doesn't just close the middle. So he doesn't have like Worthy going deep to hold that safety like he does on this side. On this side, you got Kelce who's holding the safety wide. There's nobody holding this safety wide on the right side. So Thornton can't sell that he's going up to the middle because Hamilton's just going to come over and cover that. So watch what Thornton does with his route. He starts it kind of going up the seam, a little bit of a lean inside. And now I want you to notice the footwork as he gets toward the hash. Look at this head fake right here. And then look at the step. Look at that, how far outside that step is. For someone who is running up the hash, he's going to take this step with his left foot, and then look at that right foot. Look where it got to. He's way out here before he brings it back in. So kind of the path of his route is he takes a little step in, he comes out like this, and then he shoots to the middle of the field. And that bit of motion is crucial here. That's the important nuance in the route running because it holds Hamilton with the threat that he's going to come out to the corner. So Hamilton can't come over to top this middle route yet because if Hamilton gets wrong foot in this direction, Thornton can break outside and he'll be able to run to the pylon wide open and get a touchdown in that direction. So Hamilton has to stay at home for long enough that when Thornton makes his break right here and turns his head, he has enough room, even with Hamilton closing, that Mahomes can get that throw in there before the safety closes for the touchdown. So first, the play design is important because this safety has to keep eyes on Kelce. And then the route design and the technical route running by Tyquan Thornton is extremely important to make sure that this safety can't come into the middle and poach this play. The third part of this that's very important is the timing with Mahomes. So look at where Mahomes is deciding to throw this ball now, right? Right now. Look at him. And what is Thornton doing? Thornton is still making his break out. So the timing, and this is where it comes down to, this is why, we talk so much about how when Mahomes cannot trust his receivers, there's a reason why the offense looks so bad. In order for this play to work, Mahomes has got to trust that Thornton, even though he's running out right here, is going to cut at the right time. He's going to cut at the right angle, and he's going to be at the right spot because Mahomes is making that decision to throw it to a spot now without even knowing. For all he knows, Tyquan Thornton's just going to keep running in that direction. And unfortunately, there have been receivers on the Chiefs that might have done that. So you need to have that degree of trust that the chemistry is there, that the guy's going to be where you need him to be. And that's exactly like Mahomes throws it to a spot, Thornton ends up in that spot, and that's why you get that touchdown. These windows are so small. If Thornton runs this, after he makes this cut right here, if he takes this angle a little too far up the hash, Hamilton's going to undercut this throw or just going to hit him and break it up. It's very important that Thornton gets to where he's supposed to get. And that's key on this touchdown. So great play design, great route running from Thornton, and great chemistry between Mahomes and Thornton results in a big touchdown. We can see it, it would have been nice if we had the end zone cam in the other direction, so then we could have really seen what Mahomes was seeing a little more. But if you look, what is Mahomes' contribution initially, looking down the center of the field, and then snaps his head over to Thornton, throws, and then that ball's right there where it needs to be, when it needs to be. And as you can see, based on this throw, if Thornton ran his route and ended up here, Hamilton's able to make that play. So that positioning, being in the right spot, and Mahomes knowing that's the spot he's going to be and throwing to that spot before he's made his cut, that's how you get these tight window touchdowns. That's the kind of chemistry that's necessary in the NFL. And that's why if you have receivers that are a little tick off or are not trustworthy with their angles and where they're getting to, it can make an offense like Andy Reid's offense look pretty bad. And we've seen that over the last couple years, especially in 2023 when talking about the receiver angle. We'll pick things up with 7:22 to go in the third quarter. The Ravens have just scored to make it 27-13, and they're kicking off to the Chiefs. If you remember this, the play right before the field goal is the play that Lamar Jackson got injured on. So Lamar Jackson will not be in for the remainder of this game. So the Ravens kick off here, down 27-13. And they kick off to Nico Remigio, who fields the ball around the 3-yard line. He initially cuts up by the numbers and tries to cut in and spins off a hit, which helps him bounce this outside all the way up to about the 49-yard line. So on its surface, this looks like a kick return where, he's coming up, he breaks a tackle, and that kind of, the spin off the tackle puts him in a position where he's got some open field. He takes an unexpected trajectory bouncing off the hit, and then he ends up with open field. But I don't think it was that random. Because if you want to look at how the Chiefs are blocking this, so especially I want you to compare the technique used by defenders or by blockers in the center versus on their right side. So if you look over at like Jeffrey Bassa and I can't tell from the number who this is, but look at how they're blocking straight up here and just trying to, how you would kind of anticipate for a up the middle return. And then contrast that to Jaden Hicks right here and Noel Williams. They're not really trying to get in front of their defenders. They're letting their defenders get around them. It looks like Hicks was trying to entice his defender to get in, but Hicks's defender came outside and Hicks just rolled around him. But they both Hicks and Noel Williams ultimately seem to be forcing their defenders down the line of scrimmage to the offense's left. So they're really kind of taking the contained guys and pushing them inside, creating a lane that if Remigio was able to cut outside, he'd have daylight. So there is some degree of intentionality. And I don't know that that was the primary place where the return was supposed to go. Where I think they wanted the return to go is right here. And you can see that based on how Jack Cochran is blocking right here, and his counterpart on this side, who I can't see, is blocking this way. So where you have the straight up blocks right here, you have and then again, you've got straight up blocks over here. There seems to be the intentional formation of a crease right here. So I think this was initially where they were trying to get Remigio to be able to go. However, Cochran's guy is the one that peels off and puts a hit on him. But I also don't think it was accidental that he had a cutback lane here, because those are the kind of 4 intentional blocks you see that are not just straight up. Cochran going this way, this guy going this way, Hicks and Noel Williams running their guys inside. So it does seem like Hicks and Noel Williams intentionally washed their guys inside, and that's what provided the lane once Remigio spun off this hit, that he had some daylight and was able to get down the field. Then he extended it himself with a wonderful stiff arm here. I mean, this is at about the 38-yard line, and he ended up getting another 11 yards after this. So very impactful stiff arm here before he goes out of bounds. So let's see this from the end zone view. We can see the blocking setup even better here. But again, look at this. Oh, this is so intense. Is that Leo Chanel? Look at that. Yeah, I mean, this is even more conclusive about setting up the crease. Look at him pivot, gain leverage to the inside, and block. Yeah, look at how intentional this is with him crossing Christensen. They're trying to make a crease right there. So I think this is where Remigio is supposed to hit. However, Cochran is the one who struggled a little bit with his block, and his defender ended up being able to get to Remigio. But again, look at the intentionality on this side now. You've got Jaden Hicks and Noel Williams who end up washing their defenders inside so that when Remigio breaks off a hit, and again, I don't think it's an accident that Remigio chose to spin in this direction. He's probably aware from the return setup that he's going to have room if he can get out there. Spins off, gets out there. So there's a lot more to, breaking these kinds of big returns than somebody just bouncing in the right direction, which I'm sure happens too. But there seemed to be a lot of intentionality about this. The edge guys getting washed in and Remigio taking his spin outside and ultimately breaking contain and getting a big return. Now for the final play of this week's film review, we're going to take you to 13:20 to go in the fourth quarter. The Chiefs at this point are up 30-13, and they have a 4th and 1 at about Baltimore's 15-yard line. Patrick Mahomes is under center. He's got 3 to his right, 1 to his left. Xavier Worthy in the backfield. Hunt motions back there. Mahomes takes the snap, rolls right, and throws a touchdown pass to Hollywood Brown. ultimately bringing the score up to 37-13. So this is a nice little play design from Andy Reid. He brings Kareem Hunt into the backfield. I think that's an important motion here because with Worthy by himself in the backfield, I don't think anyone thinks he's going to run the ball here. So bringing Hunt into the backfield at least gives you the threat of the run in the play action. They start with a fake. And again, the fake here is not that hard of a sell, right? It's more the line is going to come in, and again, everyone's, especially really these two defenders are the big ones that are keying from the backside, looking at their reads, and assuming that there could be a fullback dive here. But again, Mahomes doesn't sell it that hard. Everyone here is focused on the 3 eligible receivers coming to this side. If you see, we're eyes on Worthy immediately here. He's on Juju, and he's looking for Kelce. So these guys weren't as affected by the run, but you see, the 5 here, they're coming immediately, and then the 2 on the backside. So it kind of opens everything up in the middle of the field, right? Anybody that could have potentially been an underneath defender gets sucked in. These 3 are just responsible for 1, 2, 3 eligible receivers right here. So as Mahomes swings around, again, not that strong of a fake, but not really necessary here. What the concept is they're going to take Xavier Worthy over to the flat. Really that same action we saw in the Pacheco touchdown a couple plays ago, where you kind of fake the action, you have the person coming out, and you can hit them for an easy first down. If that doesn't work, they've got Juju coming up intermediate and turning out, and then they've got Hollywood Brown coming on a late post across the field. Not late, but longer developing. He's not going to be available immediately. Then the last guy to release, Kelce, is blocking the edge here, and he will finally release when Mahomes boots around right here to make himself available as like a last-ditch effort. So really on this one, you're probably reading this 1 to 2 to 3, and if nothing's open, maybe late, you get this one 4. But as you see, so what happens here is Hamilton is the guy who's responsible for Kelce. Well, Kelce's staying in the block initially, so Juju gets picked up, Worthy gets picked up, and Hamilton then, since he doesn't have Kelce immediately, he sees Worthy go out, and then just changes focus, sees Mahomes on the boot, and comes after him. But the corner on this side is in a pretty thankless job because he's essentially the only defender defending the pass on over half of the field, right? From this hash all the way over. So he is not in a position where he can sell on Hollywood going over. He doesn't know what the play design here. He doesn't know everybody's coming to this side of the field. So he can't be beaten like in a corner over there. So if you see, he's actually playing for outside leverage. He doesn't want to get like beaten hard to the out because he's got no help out here. If he gets beaten to the outside, it's a touchdown. Now, unfortunately, with all the attention to the underneath guys and from here for the run, if he gets beaten this way, it's a touchdown too. So he's kind of in a thankless position. And Hollywood Brown, with the amount of cushion he's got, does a good job of just running away from him across the field. It's wide open. And once Mahomes, you can see him looking for Worthy first. So once he goes from Worthy to Juju to Hollywood, you can see it pretty well there in the progression. 1 to 2 to 3. His 3 is open. And just gets it over Juju and his defender. That would have been really unfortunate if that pass was tipped. But just gets it over right to Hollywood for the touchdown. So a nice play design. And taking advantage of the same action. And I really think bringing Kareem Hunt was crucial just to sell the idea that this could happen, because I don't think anyone's buying a play fake on Worthy. Now, it doesn't matter as much as you've seen when you kind of have the fake and the action on the front side like this. Guys seem to be open all the time. But they were able to fake this action to Hunt. Honestly, it was a little better of a fake than I give it credit for. It wasn't terrible. Wasn't like that hard of a sell, but he at least like sold it a little bit. And then you see as you go, Hamilton doesn't have to get Kelce, so he's going to come straight. Mahomes is looking to Worthy, then to Juju, then to Hollywood. You can see. And if Hollywood had been covered, then you just plop this over to Kelce and say, hey, go get a yard for me. It's 4th and 1. He throws that over to Hollywood, and look at the perfect placement. You know, this almost looks like Juju's more than swatting the ball, is trying to swat the defender's hand away. I don't know if I'm just drinking too much of the Juju Kool-Aid at this point, but doesn't it? It kind of looks like Juju's trying to swat the defender's hand away, but who knows? In any case, the ball made it over both of them right to Hollywood Brown for a touchdown. That made it 37-13 Chiefs. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next week when we review the Chiefs-Jaguars Monday Night Football game from Week 5. Until then, please follow along. We are putting up content on our YouTube channel and on social media at STCF715 on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. Until next time.